I got to tell you, though, I woke up today I woke up at about 4:30 a.m. because I had a nightmare that Freddy Krueger came and killed me. Which is weird because I've never watched those movies before.
That is weird.
Right? And on top of it, I was like I was laying down and there was this like witch lady that was trying to like protect me or something like that, but then she got it too. Freddy just came in and mutilated her first and then tore my back out second. So that was fun. And somewhat fitting because it's Halloween tomorrow.
Yeah.
But what can you do? Anyway, we've started, so I hope that blank face doesn't mean
started. 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay.
Gavin's just finishing up sorting out the game that he's going to play for me at the end of the episode. So we're changing things up a little bit, which is fun. But welcome to Better Luck next week. And
I love it when you tell me that the podcast is starting. Like I'm literally halfway.
You whine about it every time, and it's just going to keep
just
happening.
Tell me. Just go, hey, Gavin, we're starting in 3, 2, 1. Just like try and be a host. Just a little bit.
He's a little grumpy. He had a bad week.
I've definitely had a bad week.
Yeah.
My dinner is a donut and a beer.
My God, and now I'm getting 8 notifications at the same time. That's you sending me stuff for later. So,
yes.
I also want to say that we had a bit of confusion starting off because normally you're 5 hours ahead of me as Gavin's downing a pint. Normally you're 4 hours ahead of me, but you're 5. But today you're 4, and I was whining that we needed to start earlier, but you couldn't because you were still at work. And it's
as always, even though you have a best friend, and I hope a few more than just me friends in the UK, Jared has not yet discovered the ability on his iPhone to add British Standard Time to his phone. So every Friday at about lunchtime, I get a message going, hey, can we start the podcast at this time? Now, I'm helpful, and I go, okay, well, I know that it takes me half an hour to get home from work. So if I tell to Jared that I'm going to be ready for 6, that leaves me half an hour to get home, get myself in order, do the tiny amount of preparation that I do for this podcast, and then be ready to go. Now, I tell him 6, because for me, I tell him a time. All Ivo would have to do if I told him 6 was to go on his phone and go, oh, okay, it's this time in the UK right now, which means if Gavin says 6, he'll be ready in 2 hours. Oh, okay, that's all that takes. Gavin's at work. He's probably quite busy and doesn't want to deal with my shit. And we'll sort it out and move on with his life. But no, he goes, Gavin, are you ready in an hour and a half? And it's 3 o'clock and I'm at work. And I'm like, I'm definitely not going to be ready in an hour and a half.
You see, I gave you a frame of time, not just a random number.
And then always, without fail, I say, I will be ready at 6 o'clock, which to me means at 6 o'clock or like a couple of minutes before 6 o'clock, all Jared needs to do is send me the link to the Zoom meeting. I'll have everything ready my end. I've got my notepad. I've got my phone so I can look up the NFL. I've got all the tabs open I need to have open so I can do my bit. But then always I sit down at 6 o'clock. I make sure that everything's ready on my end. And then I send Jared a message and I get a response of, oh yeah, give me 5 minutes. I'm brushing my teeth. Or I'm going to the loo. Or, oh yeah, give me half an hour. I'm doing something completely different. I was like, we set a time. We had a conversation where we went, we will do this at this time. And Jared went, oh, it's that time. Let me go and do something completely different.
Okay, well, today I will say that I was cleaning and lost track of time. So that doesn't happen very often. Yes, I did my dishes and I cleaned my bathroom. That doesn't happen very often. So you have to just let that be a thing, okay?
Why did you decide to do it when we were doing a podcast? We do a podcast
because you told me that we had 2 hours. So I did stuff.
I told you had 2 hours an hour and 20 minutes ago. It doesn't matter. You were
Whatever.
still late.
Whatever. We've made it a bit Halloween-y today. Gavin's Pikachu hat. I have my Archie sweater on, and there's some Halloween socks hanging on my background. So
You worked hard on that, didn't you?
yeah, extreme. I
Jared
also
was
I
like,
don't
"I'm
I
gonna
don't
change
have I don't have any Halloween stuff here, unfortunately. But anyways, that's just me ranting. Ultimately, that rant was about daylight savings time and why it's stupid.
No, it's
Because
not stupid.
it is, because not only are we on different savings times, like North America falls back this Sunday. So for like 2 or 3 weeks, I think we are an hour closer. And as of this Sunday, we'll be 5 hours apart again instead of the 4.
No, Jared,
And
because you see what it means is in the UK, right? When I leave at 7:30 to go to work every morning, it means that it's dark. And when they put the daylight savings time in, it means that it's slightly less dark for about a week.
so just keep that.
Yeah. It's utterly pointless.
I don't know
It's
why we
dark.
have to. I don't know why we have to change around. Half the world literally doesn't care because they either have sun all the time because they live at the equator, sun rarely at all because they live in the north, or they're farmers and they get up when the sun comes up and go to bed when the sun goes down. The rest of the world has this arbitrary clock maneuver thing garbage that we lose an hour's sleep for every spring.
Yeah.
It's trash.
Yeah.
Stop
I
it.
must before we move in, normally we have a planning meeting before the podcast where we discuss what we're going to do when, but Jared seems to have just decided he's going to bypass that.
It was kind of a planning on the fly thing.
Oh yeah, that always works well. I must apologise, by the way, to the audience. I don't normally apologise for my appearance, but I have got a bruise on my head the size of a Rolo. For those of you who don't know what a Rolo is, it's like a Hershey's Kiss.
Most people know what Rolos are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Effectively, what I was doing was I was leaning over something and tightening something up, and my Allen key decided that it didn't want to be one Allen key anymore. It wanted to be 2. Snapped.
And then
and even though it had about 12, could have gone anywhere in the room, it decided what it needed to do was directly fling upwards and hit me in the head there. So now I have a bruise that won't go away because I did this on Thursday.
So yesterday?
Yeah.
Oh, well,
Yeah. Yesterday morning.
Yeah, give it a week. Give it a week. Then it might go away.
It's got gravity, though.
At least it didn't get you in the eye.
Yeah, well,
so that's good. Right, now that we've got everything out of the way for the first half an hour of the podcast, why don't we talk about actual sports, shall we?
You decide when to press the record button. If I'm ranting about bollocks and you press the record button and you get half an hour of Gavin ranting about bollocks, that's your fault as the host.
I know. We both had a bit of a rant about bollocks, though. So the Portuguese Grand Prix for the first time since 1996 happened last weekend. And we both kind of went off the map, you more so than me, on our predictions on who was going to do this. And I don't know why we doubt the classics, because we really shouldn't have. Well,
we were actually going to be in the right kind of frame of mind over the first lap. Because if you'd have taken a slice at the end of the first lap, you would have gone, Gavin and Jared aren't far wrong, because I don't know what happened with those Mercedes, because who knows? But we were at a point where Carlos Sainz was in the lead, Charles Leclerc was following him very quickly through the field, and Lando Norris was in 4th, challenging Hamilton. By the way, didn't show any respect to Hamilton. He did not care that was Lewis Hamilton that he was dicing the track on. He just went for it, which I think a lot of people last year said that Lando Norris went backwards a lot at the start of the races and kind of, wasn't the best overtaker in the world. he gave Lewis Hamilton a pretty good run for his money.
Yeah, he
You know,
seems to have really worked on that aspect of his
yeah,
driving.
I think
Right?
that's something he's definitely going to have to work on next year, because if he's got Daniel Ricciardo as a teammate, he's definitely going to have to get good at overtaking. There was a couple of things in that race. So yes, at the end, I think the standout things for me that we should talk about, because we're having to do the planning as we go forward, is Bottas is saying he wanted different tyres, and Mercedes go no. The Lando.
Well, why don't we pause on that, because that's not the first
Yeah,
time we've seen that, right?
no.
Bottas seems to keep asking for not only different tires, but specifically opposite tires of Hamilton.
He knows that he's well aware that if he's on exactly the same strategy as Hamilton,
He's not going to
that
win.
he's not going to win. Hamilton is
Yeah.
going to get 10 to 15 seconds ahead of him and then manage the gap every lap. You see it over 5 laps back. Bottas might gain a second, and then Hamilton will go, "Oh, he's got a second. I'll speed up a bit," and then he loses a second.
Yeah.
It's a lot of people were saying that. So Hamilton has signed his contract now. He is not signed it, but has basically said, "I'm staying with Mercedes." There's just a couple of things in the contract we need to work out. I think that there's 2 options for Valtteri Bottas at the moment, because his contract discussions are coming up as well at some point.
Yeah, we know he's staying next season, and then I think
Yeah.
he's got 1 or 2 more years on his contract.
Yeah, I think that he's at a point now where he either needs to have a conversation where they just basically go, he goes, "Look, I'm a second driver. I'm a very good second driver, and I'll challenge Hamilton all the way. But if you're going to treat me as a second driver, I need to be paid for it." Because that was the situation that Ferrari in the mid 2000s had with it was Michael Schumacher, and then his teammate at the time was Portuguese driver
Massa?
Felipe Massa, yeah. And Ferrari had a conversation with Massa where they went, "Look, you are the second driver. Everything is always going to go Michael's way." And Felipe went, "Okay, well, if you want me to do that, I need to be paid a lot."
Yeah.
So I think he ended up with something, a contract that would have made Hamilton blush. But he was a second driver, and it was on paper that he was a second driver, and that killed his career. Because that told every other team that he would much rather take the paycheck, like that he could be bought effectively. Like, you just offer Roush, you offer him enough money, he's going to take the second driver role. I think Bottas has a choice. He either accepts that second driver role, which he is. I'm sorry, he's been given every opportunity to challenge Lewis and can't really put it to him. Or he goes somewhere else.
That is a very high standard.
Oh, yeah. I mean, 1-2 pretty much every single time they come out is not anything to be scruffed at. But
yeah, like I would say that Bottas could be a number 1 on another team.
Yeah. But if he wants to be a number 1 and he wants to be treated like a number 1 and he wants his championship challenge to be treated, to be taken seriously, I think he needs to go somewhere else, because I don't ever, until Lewis Hamilton spontaneously decides to retire, which isn't happening for at least the next 5 years, I can't see. Because why would he?
Yeah,
he said
Hamilton's just going to keep extending his now, most wins in history.
He said at one point, he said, "Well, I'll stop when I start to get slower." He's not got slower. He said, "I'll stop when I have the next, when the next contract comes." But that next contract's never going to become, because Mercedes just keep extending the current one. It's not as if he's sitting down having a new contract written up. They just turn around to him and go, "Another 2 years," and he goes, "Yeah, sure." I mean, currently he's contracted to 2024. They've got a 2-year contract. They've just signed with it. Well, they are going to sign in the next couple of days, with an optional 2-year extension. So, in theory, unless he falls off a cliff, which I don't think he's going to do, for the next 4 years, Lewis Hamilton is going to be in that team. Simple as that.
Yeah, it makes the most sense, and I mean, yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see what Bottas ends up deciding to do, and he's one of those drivers too that it's kind of difficult to predict what is going on in his head, right? Like, there's some guys that you can go, okay, they're probably going to do this. Bottas, I really don't know, because it looks like he gets frustrated when he's told that he's the second driver on the racetrack, but then continues to do that role. So I don't know. But
It's also, I think, Mercedes turning around when he comes in for the pit stop and him turning around and going, I want the opposite to Lewis. And Mercedes have basically said, we're not going to play that game.
Yeah.
So they've gone, whatever's working for Lewis is what you're getting. 1-2, finishing 1-2 is more important than you being Lewis to us.
Yeah. So for this Grand Prix, did you get any points?
No.
I didn't think so. I only got 2.
No. I got 1 point.
Who did you have? Oh, Verstappen, right?
No. I had Hamilton third.
Oh, good. Okay. So you had Hamilton third. I had Verstappen first and Bottas third. So
you get 2 points.
I get 2 points, but it was a pretty rough week for the two of us. At least, so better luck next week to us. And I would have to say, I'd say better luck next year, honestly, for Alfa Romeo in their decision to keep Kimi Räikkönen and Antonio Giovinazzi for another season.
It's a strange punt.
Well, yeah, because we've been talking about this for a few weeks now about how Giovinazzi's really not done anything interesting, and why would you not bring up somebody in the Alpha Ferrari system to, like, because you're not losing anything by bringing up like a Mick Schumacher or something like that.
No, it's one of those. It's one of those ones that you had an opportunity to do something.
Yeah.
And what you've done with that opportunity is, you can kind of put it in, if we put it in football comparisons, because this is a sports podcast, you've got an option. You can either run it, which is probably going to get you 5 yards and then you're going to be down and then you've achieved nothing, or you can try and throw it. Now, yes, is there more of a risk if you throw it? Yeah, sure. There's more of a risk if you put Mick Schumacher in the car. But I think Mick Schumacher, being Mick Schumacher, he's proven that he can drive a car getting to the level that he's got in Formula 2. I don't see that you lose anything putting him in the car instead of Antonio Giovinazzi.
No, I think the most
hasn't
risk.
Done anything.
Yeah, he hasn't done anything, and I think the most risk that gets taken by doing something like that is by Mick Schumacher for being a rookie.
Yeah.
I think that's it. So the only way I see this making full sense is that Giovinazzi must bring a lot of money to the team. Like, that's why Williams is keeping Nicholas Latifi. He brings a lot of money to the team. So he must bring some money to the team. That's the only way that I see this making sense, because
But there were more options than those two on the market.
Of course.
You had other options.
Yeah.
And it didn't make sense to not even wait until the end of the season and see where you're going from there.
I know people are iffy about Nico Hulkenberg. I would take Hulkenberg over Giovinazzi as just an option of a free agent.
Just as something that's going to bring more people to, because more people probably want to meet Nico Hulkenberg because of his.
At least watch Nico Hulkenberg for what he's been able to do this season.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there's plenty of other people out there. I mean, you could have got a Sergio Perez. You could have got multiple people. I mean, there was even a point where George Russell was apparently not 100% secure at Williams, which is another thing I think we should talk about at some point. But I think one of the things we need to discuss in this race was, what is Lance Stroll on?
I don't know. I'm starting to see more and more why people really don't like him. Um, I don't know. It's very difficult to keep defending him now that he just keeps crashing either into other people or doing it to himself. And I don't
I,
know.
yeah, I know people have bad days and stuff like that, but the most important thing, and I think this is something that people need to look at Alex Albon for and go, actually, it doesn't matter how many amazing darting moves and all that kind of stuff you make if you don't bring the car home. If the car doesn't finish the Grand Prix, you don't get anything. You know,
Well, and for Lance Stroll, it's been a bad like 3 months.
he hasn't finished the last 4 races, Jared.
Yeah.
He's either crashed out or been retired by the team in the last 4 races. I mean, if Alex Albon had done that, we'd be lynching the poor boy.
Yeah. He'd be out.
He'd be
Yesterday.
out. But
Yeah.
the thing is, so I can understand that mistakes happen in racing. I get it. Now, Lando Norris put that McLaren in a position where it was difficult to overtake. He didn't swerve. He didn't put the car in any, he didn't move aggressively or anything like that. He said, I'm going to put the car here. Now, in my opinion, there wasn't space on the outside.
Yeah.
Now, yes, theoretically, there was half a car's room. Now, fair enough, there's half a car's room. There's about 3 cars' room on the inside, Lance, for future reference. And he sent it down the outside of Lando Norris, which he had the speed to. He had, everything like that. And Lando brakes late and kept next to him. Now, all that Lance needs to do in that situation is go, okay, I'm going to give you space going through this corner, which I have to do. And then the next corner is the left-hander. So you're on the inside for the next corner. At which point, Lando Norris is going to have to probably yield the place because he'll have had a slower run out of the first corner, and you've made a clean pass. But you send it up the outside. You don't give Lando Norris raced, perfectly respectively, gave him the room and defended how he was meant to defend as per the rules, and got clouted by Lance Stroll. And then, effectively, Lando was in a position to have a very good race. And he's, taken him off. Now,
and Lance probably, if he hadn't crashed, probably could have put himself in a decent position for a good race as well.
He was running in 6th at the time.
Yeah.
So he would have very easily been in a good point scoring position. And the bit that gets me for this with Lance is that, okay, if this happened once, I went, yeah, fair enough. You've had an incident at that first corner. You misjudged it. People, misjudgments happen. But this is the 4th race in a row he hasn't finished due to something he's done. And this is the 2nd incident that happened on that same corner on the same race. Well, because he had the issue with Max Verstappen on the Friday.
Yeah, and that's what I was just going to say. He did it in practice.
Yeah.
What? Anyway. I think we basically agree on it, so I don't think there's much else to say other than that it's ridiculous. Yeah. And Lance really needs to smarten up, or else Aston Martin next year is going to be looking pretty rough with Lance, who can't seem to finish a race anymore, and Sebastian Vettel, who's a shadow of his former self.
I think that there is a different situation. They have not confirmed that Lance is their driver for next year. They haven't confirmed that yet. Now, the thing for me there is, at the moment, Racing Point as a team is owned, I think, by a large majority, by his dad.
Yes.
Now, does his dad care if he's crashing cars and taking other drivers off and stuff like that? Not really. He's still his son, and there is no way that he's not going to give his son a drive next year. But next year, it does not become Racing Point. It becomes Aston Martin, which is a globally recognised brand, which Lawrence Stroll does not have 100% control over. He doesn't have 100% control over the board. He doesn't then have 100% control over the team. So I think the reason he hasn't confirmed yet is that people at Aston Martin are going, look, we want to be taken seriously in Formula One, which means that unless your son can prove unequivocally that he's a better driver than the other person, other people that we could put in that seat, we don't want him. And I think that's the reason they haven't confirmed.
That's a very interesting take. I don't really have an opinion on it because I'd love to see, at least hear what's going on. Some other things that I have heard that are going on just before we get to this race itself. Apparently, Perez is waiting on a Red Bull decision. So I guess there's some rumors about Sergio Perez potentially joining a Red Bull team, perhaps. Hamilton and Mercedes, their contracts, I know we talked about it earlier, that's actually going to be on hold until after the titles are decided, which I guess could be as early as this Sunday. Either this Sunday or next Sunday for sure. And then a bit of nice news. Pierre Gasly has revealed a tribute helmet for Senna.
Pierre Gasly, who's staying with AlphaTauri next year. Which I think
that helmet to tribute Senna. I think it looks great. It's yellow with the green stripe across the forehead.
On the
simple but lovely.
On the Sergio Perez thing. So Red Bull have said that the seat is Albon's and they want to keep him, but he's got to prove it. They also haven't confirmed Daniel Kvyat, so I think that because Albon has a contract,
probably going to keep him.
I would think there's two decisions here. They either keep him and bunts him back to AlphaTauri, or he keeps the Red Bull seat. I'd like him to keep the Red Bull seat because I think the problem for Red Bull is if they put Perez in that car and Perez struggles with that car, that shows the world that it is not a driver problem, it's a car problem.
Yeah.
And that's a risk. Because if you basically show the world that you go, we've got a car that only Max Verstappen can drive quickly, that really makes it difficult for the rest of, you're trying to find a second driver.
Well, yeah, that makes it very unattractive to bring in a second driver, period.
Because if I've seen that you've got rid of Pierre Gasly, who's now doing really well, and then Alex Albon, who has done reasonably well, but is now had now been booted to an AlphaTauri. If I'm someone coming into that Red Bull number 2 seat, I want it in my contract that you can't get rid of me because
this car works for me.
I'm basically going to turn around and go, unless I'm, a second behind Max, then it's not my fault, it's the car's fault. Because that's the differential Pierre Gasly was 0.5 of a second behind Max. Alex Albon's 0.4 of a second behind Max. So if Perez gets in that car and he's 0.4 of a second behind, then Red Bull look really dumb.
That they do. And just as a side note, I would say that Gasly Albon would be a great team for AlphaTauri. I think that would be really fun. That would be a fun team to watch, you know? Right. What do you think this one? Qualifying and practice are both tomorrow, so we don't know anything other than previous history at this track,
the previous history was the Michael Schumacher days.
Yeah, so not a whole lot going on.
It's Imola. It's fast.
It's a very nice track.
Yeah. I think there's going to be some driver. This is going to be another one of those ones that they haven't raced in a while. The teams haven't really got information on, which I love, because when the teams haven't got info, it throws the cat amongst the pigeons because they have to think on their feet. It's not Mercedes. It's not Mercedes going, okay, well, this is how long the tyre lasted this year. This is how long it'll last now. Okay, so we know exactly how the race is going to go. I like it when they don't know because it means that there's some fun to be had. I think Daniel Ricciardo is going to do very well here. I would like to see Lando Norris do well because he always has quite good bounce back races. When he's had a bad race, he then normally follows it up with a good race. I think he saw him and Carlos, and especially Daniel Ricciardo, because he commented on this, saw that when you were looking at the sector times, through the second and third sector of last week, which were the straights and some corners, the Mercedes was the fastest. Through the first sector, McLaren was fastest. Through the twisty stuff, where the chassis matters, McLaren was fastest. So Daniel Ricciardo commented after, he said, I saw those two McLarens going up the road and was like, wow. And I think that's something that McLaren have gone, actually, if we get a good jump off the line and Mercedes aren't awake, we can do something smart here. So yeah, it's difficult to predict anything because normally I take the first two practice sessions, which are on the Friday, and kind of look at them and go, okay, well, I can kind of see what's going on here, and use those as my basis. But with nothing, I think I'm just going to go with some drivers I like because I have nothing else to base it on off. So I think I'm going to go Hamilton.
Yeah, I was going to put Hamilton first as well.
I'm going to go Ricciardo because straight line speed, the Renault is quite quick. And then the last track that we didn't know, and that requires a lot of straight line speed, the Red Bull really suffered. So I'm not actually going to put a Red Bull in my top three. I'm going to go Norris.
You mean a McLaren?
Huh? Yeah.
Well, this track is very interesting, though. 19 turns, speed trap between 16 and 17, and a DRS zone on the long straight, basically right from 18 all the way through to turn 2. A hairpin at turn 7, and to be honest, I've gone Hamilton, Verstappen, Ricciardo.
Mm-hmm. Interesting that both of us haven't got Bottas.
Yeah.
We do want to.
I just kind of think Bottas is going to have a problem. Either the team's going to get annoyed with him because he keeps asking for the opposite of Hamilton every race.
Yeah.
And I think they've got to a point in the season where Hamilton's basically going to win the championship, and I think they're just going to tell him to F off and shut up.
Yeah.
Because
this totally isn't going to happen. But what I would really like to see is like Bottas's punishment for asking for different tyres again is that he has to race in the Williams for the rest of the season. We actually get to see what George Russell can do in a car with some pace.
Yeah, that would be a lot of fun.
So that moves us on to, I think, the next thing we should discuss, which is that there were people out there that thought that George Russell wasn't going to retain his seat for next year.
And I would say that those people are wrong.
Yeah. There's 2 points I want to make here. Well, actually, 3. First,
we'll make them quick because we should get to the NFL.
Okay, first, he has out-qualified his teammate a consecutive 32 times. He's never been out-qualified by his teammate, which means with clear and open track, he's the best guy in the car. Simple as that.
Not that I would say that Nicholas Latifi is going to be overly challenging.
No. But he has had different people in that seat next to him.
Yes, he has.
The next point I would like to make is that his manager is Toto Wolff, the perennial decision maker at Mercedes. He's also a Mercedes Academy driver and a Mercedes test driver. Who gets their engines from Mercedes, Jared?
Williams.
Okay, so you're going to take the best driver that Williams undoubtedly have at the moment and turn around to the guys that you buy your engines from who have kind of marked him as, their protege, the next person that's going to basically fill the shoes of whoever, Hamilton. Are you going to kick him out?
Good luck, mate.
Because even, as much as Toto went, yeah, no, we it won't affect our decision. I reckon that engine bill's going to go up a little bit, and it'll be, why has our engine bill gone up 1.4 million? Yeah, it's the same amount as George's contract, mate.
Yep. I think that wraps that up nicely.
Yeah.
So the NFL now. This past weekend, I think basically went exactly as predicted on just about every game.
Yeah. Let me get the whole NFL thing up here, so
I think both of us are going to do fairly well on this. I see a couple of losses for me, but otherwise, I think it's going to be pretty good.
So
We can speak briefly on how the Saints have once again been exposed by the Carolina Panthers, 27-24. They barely won that game, and I don't think there's much else to say other than that.
No.
The New Orleans Saints are not a juggernaut.
Yeah.
They are struggling.
They're a above average football team.
I would say barely above average.
Yeah, speaking of above average football teams, the Bills beat the Jets. The Jets playing a very, very strange strategy of what they would do was they would go down the field to 40 or 20-yard line, and then they would take Sam Darnold off after he'd had 3 attempts, and then they just kick it on 3rd down. So they scored a lot of field goals, but
that's great.
They were in range of touchdowns 3 times.
Yeah, no, but we don't love the Jets enjoy social distancing themselves from the end zone.
Yeah, they didn't get in the end zone. Their kicker had a great day. That's
probably the best you can ask for.
Yeah, the next one I do think we will need to comment on for a little bit. One, because I think we need to talk about the sensitivity of journalists, because, and I'll say this unequivocally, it is not okay to talk about someone who has had a season-ending injury and your next breath be, well, is Baker Mayfield better without him? The people that think that Baker Mayfield is better off without Odell Beckham Jr., one, you're just wrong, because Odell, you can plonk Odell into whatever scheme you want. He's a talented deep threat, which is a rarity in this league. It's also very insensitive of a guy that's just hurt himself. This wasn't like it was 2 weeks later. This was the Monday of the game.
There's no proof of your point. You're just active. You're just throwing out speculation, and with no grounds whatsoever. It'd be like saying, "Oh, is Tom Brady better off without Gronk after he broke his arm the night before?"
Yeah, it's also like, so if now that Odell is unfortunately no longer a member of the Browns, which I think is a blow to the Browns because he's a very talented player. If Baker now scores 50 points and doesn't throw another interception for the rest of the season, then I'd go, I think your offensive scheme where you're trying to force the ball to Odell all the time is poor and needs looking at.
Right, but that in itself is a reflection of the offensive scheme.
Yeah,
not necessarily Odell.
Yeah, and even then, I could kind of understand some of the more people hunting for headlines. People going that, well, the Browns don't need Odell because if they win the rest of the games of the season with the guys they've got there, and Baker never throws another pick, then you can kind of go, well, they don't seem to need. They don't seem to need Odell.
Yeah.
But saying it the next morning after he'd torn his ACL, come on. Be better than that. A guy's just hurt himself. Send your regards and say, we're really sorry you hurt yourself, Odell. Odell, if you're watching this podcast, I bet Odell isn't watching our podcast. I'm sorry you hurt your ACL.
Not.
No. I'm sorry you hurt your ACL. You're a very talented player, and I apologise for all the people that have been talking shit about you.
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense to me. I mean, anyway, it's dumb. The Browns are going to have a tough time, I think, without Odell. Baker Mayfield is good, but I mean, we can say the same thing about the next team, the Cowboys. They scored a field goal because who do they not have? Their starting quarterback, Dak Prescott, who's the best player on their team. It's
There
the
we go.
same kind of situation, I think, or at
Yeah.
least, maybe not to the same extreme because there's not many other players
Yeah.
on the Cowboys, obviously,
Yeah, and
because they
also,
lost to the Washington W's 25-3.
yeah, also,
Um,
I think. Sorry, back to the last game. I know we want to move on, but this proved the point I said I was going to make, which was the Browns wanted to sucker you in to thinking that they're a run-based team, and then when you set up your defense for a run-based team, they punish you. Baker Mayfield wouldn't have been drafted first overall if he couldn't throw a football. And he
correct.
threw that football very well and, very talentedly. Yeah, he threw an interception in the first quarter. Okay, it's his third year in the NFL. If he was perfect in his third year in the NFL, his name be Patrick Mahomes, who has thrown picks as well and isn't having the best year anyway.
Right, and we'll get to him in a little bit, but the next game was pissed off Aaron Rodgers doing what pissed off Aaron Rodgers does, and that's decimate a football team. Unfortunately, it was the Texans, and
Who are a team like
I've actually seen callings for the Texans to trade J.J. Watt to a contender because there's some folks that don't believe that the Texans are going to be able to contend now.
I don't think you're ever going to get JJ out of the Texans.
Yeah, it would be very
They're one
interesting.
in the same breath. Now, will he ever win a Super Bowl or a championship with them? I don't know. Could
They
this
could
be
use a receiver.
I wonder where they had one of those.
Just saying.
I think that the Texans just need to be smart about this year. Are you going to you started the year off terribly at a point where unless you went undefeated, which looking at your schedule was going to be difficult, I think you go into this draft and you pick up some stuff that you've needed. You have wide receiver talent. Admittedly, you lost the best wide receiver in the league. Why would you? But I don't think you're going to get him back. I just don't think you're going to. Why would a team give up?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. But you could go into this draft and get something at the areas you struggle. So, maybe get some safety help, maybe get some running back help because that's an area that they're not great. They don't have the best running game in the league. And you go into next year as a team that is very much a contender because they're not going to be drafting high at all.
Well, I mean, if they keep losing, they could, because they keep playing really good teams. So if they keep losing, it could actually be somewhat high. And it's not for the fact that they're a bad team, which, could actually benefit them in the long run. What I will say is the NFC East? I always get the divisions mixed up, but I mean, it's the NFC East that has literally nobody good, right?
Oh yeah,
like the terrible. Cowboys and yeah,
it's kind of that's the division they're in. They're in a pretty poor division.
None of those teams should make the playoffs, and one of them will. At least.
So the division that the best team in they're not the worst. They're not in the worst division. They're in the division with the Jaguars and the Colts. They're not last in their division at the moment, even though they're 1-6, because the Jaguars are 1-6 as well. But there are some other divisions that are doing very well. The one that kind of makes you sit back and forward and rock and feel really bad is that the AFC North has the Steelers, the Ravens, and the Browns. Now, if the Browns were in the AFC South, they'd be the number one seed in the AFC South. But the AFC North is so powerful at the moment, they're the third seed. So
fun times.
Fun times.
What wasn't fun times is watching the Falcons choke away another lead. Once again.
I think they need to have a conversation with their defensive coordinator and go, look, mate, whatever you're doing.
Well, no, it's the defense. The offense put up 22 points. The defense couldn't stop a beach ball.
I said the defensive coordinator.
Oh, I heard offensive coordinator. That's my
Because whatever happens when you're up, your defense seems to go, "Oh, we're up point." No. Okay, if you're up, yeah, you can play a little bit more risky. Because instead of just let's make sure we stop them. Maybe blitz a little more. Maybe tell your cornerbacks, hey, try and get the pick this time. Because then if they let a 20-yard pass go, you're like, oh well, that was dumb. But don't completely let off the brakes.
Which is exactly what they do, and probably what I did last week when I picked them, because I think you picked the Lions first, and I went, fine. Pick the Falcons.
The next game was...
Yeah. Well, hold on. Before we move on, I want to ask you one question.
Okay.
What is worse?
Okay.
Losing, just losing and being bad, like the Jets, for example, or having leads in just about every game you've played so far this season and throwing them away in just about every game you've played so far this season?
I don't understand where they allow themselves for that to happen. Because
that's the Falcons.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure if you're a Falcons defensive player that's been around for a few years, you must have 28-3 scarred in your memory. You must wake up at night going, we were 28-3 in the Super Bowl, and we let that go.
And nothing's changed.
If I was ever the defensive coordinator of the Falcons, which God, they would have had to go down the list for me to be the defensive coordinator, I'd figure it out. I would walk in, and the first meeting I had, if one of them turned around and went, oh, we don't like doing this, I would get a Sharpie and I would write 28-3 on the board. And
so
go,
would never
any
erase.
question you have about what you think is the right thing to do, but yeah. Right? That must be scarred in their cultural memory in Atlanta for the next however many years. And if I was the defensive coordinator, if my guys if the offense puts up 22 points, I'm going to turn around to the defense and go, here's some pictures of your wives and kids. If you let them score a point, they don't eat.
Okay.
I'd get like that.
Where are you going with this, Kev?
Well, apparently losing a Super Bowl wasn't enough.
Yeah.
So, you need to start maybe...
I guess you have to make it personal.
Yeah.
The Steelers and the Titans, this was the first real good game, I think, of
this was
the
a
weekend.
buzzsaw of a game. This is a game where I look at both teams and go, whoever you're playing next week better be a weak team, because both teams are coming out of this like sore. Because that defensive line,
angry if you're the Titans.
Yeah.
I mean, this was a hard fought game. The Steelers continue to carry on, and I mean, good for them, I guess. I don't like Big Ben, but whatever. I'm proud of the Canadian that keeps catching touchdowns. Yeah. Chase Claypool.
Big Ben didn't exactly have the best game.
No, he did have 3 interceptions, so I chuckled a bit when that happened. Yeah. And they really didn't use Chase Claypool in this one for some reason. It was Deontay Johnson that got all the touchdowns. So I'd like to see Claypool get back into it a bit, but regardless, the Buccaneers, it's good. 45-20, it's good. Good.
I mean, Tom Brady's finally managed to convince Bruce Arians that he needs AB.
Yeah, that happened. Antonio Brown is there.
Let's talk about that. So somehow Antonio Brown went from being the best receiver in the league to having attitude problems.
He's a bit of a weirdo.
Yeah. And now Tom Brady seems to have found his leash.
This is the thing, right? If you invest in players, sometimes they'll rejuvenate themselves, right? Like,
The next one was the Broncos and the Chiefs. What else did we expect to happen?
yeah, the Chiefs absolutely obliterated the Broncos 43-16.
Yeah.
I think we can move on rather
The
swiftly to the
The
Chargers and the
Chargers then
Jags.
played the Jags.
A 39-29. This actually would have been a fairly entertaining game, I think.
Yeah. It was a good game.
The Chargers
Um,
won. I picked the Chargers, so that's good for me. And then we come to a rather painful one for you. If I'm not mistaken, this is on record as the worst loss in Bill Belichick's era of coaching the New England Patriots. 33-6 to the 49ers. Jimmy Garoppolo absolutely sticking it to his former team. 20 for 25, 277 yards and 2 interceptions. But
the 2 interceptions thing leads on to another problem, which is apparently Stephen Gilmore is up for trade. He's all we've got left. He's our star cornerback. He's really good. Why is he up for trade? He has no personality problems. He has no issues. He just plays cornerback really well and occasionally catches the ball and gets an interception. Why are we considering trading him?
Yeah, I do kind of wonder if this is the beginning of the end of the Bill Belichick era. These moves kind of seem to come up, like these questions about moving players seem to come up more often. If you'd have been able to keep Jimmy Garoppolo for just 2 years, really, then you would have had no issues at quarterback here in New England.
Bill Belichick, he seems to want to play this game where we don't draft well and we don't pay players the money that they deserve. Now, that's fair enough because I think Bill wants to spread the money around the team.
I mean, I guess to a degree.
To a degree. But at a certain point, you have to, I'm going to do it with an island of misfit toys and nothing. That worked when you had the best quarterback of the generation who you gave, at a certain point you had Danny Amendola, Julian Edelman, Chris Hogan, and Rob Gronkowski, which was a fairly good receiving core. And you had situations where you could have given Tom what he wanted. There was a situation where Tom turned around and he went, look, all I want to do is play till I'm 45. Now, if I'm Bill, I go, okay, I know how long my quarterback wants to play for. He wants to play for, what was he? He's 42 now, 3 more years. Now, I would have turned around
45 or whatever, right?
I would have turned around to Tom and gone, look, here's our concerns with that. When you turn 45, we've got nothing. So here's what we're going to do, Tom. You get 2 years. In those 2 years, now at that point, Odell was available. Odell had been available. DeAndre Hopkins was apparently available. AB was still available. All Tom wanted was, give me a deep threat. I'll make the rest work. Give me a deep threat.
Couldn't be done.
Give me someone that can take the top off of defense off and go. Now, N'Keal Harry has just decided that he never wants to do anything. He's just not showing out. You could have come around to Tom and gone, right, here's a 2-year contract, but there is a stipulation in your 3rd year that in the next 2 to 3 years, we are going to hire a quarterback. We're going to bring in a rookie. Now, your first 2 years, they're yours. They're yours to do whatever you want with. You will have a kid as a backup to you, maybe. You have Odell as a deep threat. You maybe have Antonio Brown as well. And you have Julian, and we'll find some running and we'll find some tight ends for you. Which probably would have led to maybe one more championship with Tom.
Carry on. I'll be right back.
Okay.
You're on a roll, so I'm going to take a quick break.
Okay. You then have a rookie that can come in after Tom, be trained for a year by Tom Brady, and this is how I watch film, this is how I do this, this is how I play quarterback, And then at the end of that year, Tom Brady retires as the great quarterback he is. He spent his life and season as a Patriot. Him and Bill Belichick hardly goes off into the sunset. And we have an offense that has got some reasonable talent to it, but that needs some young talent, put in. And we have a quarterback that's spent, at minimum a year learning how to play quarterback in the NFL from Tom Brady, which means that, he's not going to be going into it completely blind. So I don't know what we're doing. Cam, we're through for not even 100 yards, 3 interceptions. I think we then put Jared Stidham in, and he threw an interception and then threw for 64 yards. Jared Stidham is not the future of this franchise. He's just not. I don't know what Bill's plan is, and I'm running out of things to say, and Jared's disappeared. Oh, has he made it back just in time for the end of my rant?
How good was that, eh?
That was a pretty good rant. Did you go to the toilet in the time that I was having a conversation?
I may have.
I effectively laid out a plan for Bill Belichick, and if it, yeah.
Well, I hope it works, and I hope he watches, because we've got to move on to the next few games.
If our podcast is being watched by Odell Beckham Jr.
and Bill Belichick,
could one of you just share it?
Yeah, or just, endorse us.
Yeah.
Send
How funny
us,
would that be if Odell went better like next week?
Yeah. Just if Odell Beckham Jr. is watching this, send me a jersey. And then we'll really know.
Yeah.
Right. I think this next game was another very good one. It was really only about 3 or 4 really good games. And the Cardinals and Seahawks, 37-34 for the Cardinals in overtime. This could be a game of this could be like a game of the season or a game of the year, to be honest.
God. That DK Metcalf's recovery on that almost pick six, mother of God.
He became the Terminator, and just
I've lost me.
Like he just became what happened to you?
Sorry, I lost my pen.
Oh,
it fell underneath the sofa. He saw the pick because he was covered. I think he realised he was covered, and he was crossing the middle of the field, and there was a linebacker there, and a linebacker on him, and he went, "I'm covered, Ross. Sorry."
Not for me.
Saw the guy throw the pick, saw the guy run, and just basically turned on the Jets, caught their corner, and brought him down. And it was just like you just saw DK start running through the pack, and you went.
DK looked like a linebacker.
He's a scary dude. He's huge.
He's a wide receiver, and he looked like a linebacker in that play.
Him playing wide receiver is quite concerning because he's big boy.
Right. So that was the Seahawks' first loss. Cardinals improved to 5-2. Phenomenal game. I picked the Cardinals, so we're doing quite well. The Rams beat the Bears. Who cares? The 24-10. I picked the Rams, so that's the only reason I care. And then the Falcons were actually able to hold on to a win, to a lead.
To us,
it happened. Yeah. They beat the Panthers 25-17, and I picked the Panthers because I didn't think the Falcons could hold on to a lead.
I also noticed that none of the Falcons' defensive players took their helmets off after the game. I think it was maybe because the defensive coordinator had, with Sharpie, wrote 28-3 on their heads. Okay.
Man. So I went 12 for 14 this past week. So that was pretty good.
This first game is next week, so we're going into week 8.
Oh wow, you're jumping right into it, eh?
Well, we're already a half hour down.
You don't want to say what your score was? Is it because it was less than mine?
1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Was less than mine.
I was saving you the embarrassment. I also I forgot that was the thing that we did.
Why am I embarrassed? I've got 12 of 14. You got 10. So the Packers and the Vikings.
Packers.
Yeah. Don't think there's really a question. It looks like a lot of these games are going to be a bit crap again.
Especially,
unfortunately.
The next one is going to keep some Bengals up at night.
Yeah, they're going to have some nightmares about this one because it's absolutely going to be the Titans. I have no doubt about it. Just as the next one is going to be the Chiefs because it's the Jets. No doubt about that one. The Colts and the Lions. I'd say these are actually somewhat evenly matched.
I'm going to go with the Colts because I just feel that they're...
I'll go opposite you.
Okay.
I'll go Lions because they did win last week.
The next one is a difficult one.
Yeah.
I'm going to go for the Ravens, but...
We have to say that the game is the Ravens and the Steelers, in case anybody's wondering, because it was rather vague. The next one's a difficult one.
I'm sorry. Host?
Yeah, that's why I'm saying it.
The show.
I said it. Move on. You're going Ravens?
I'm going Ravens, yeah, because...
Okay. I'll go Steelers then.
I think that if I'm the Ravens, if I'm the Steelers defensive line, I'm laying at home going, ow, we had Derrick Henry run into us 20 times. And then you're going to see Lamar Jackson at you and you have some form of PTSD and go, that's Derrick Henry. Oh, no, it's not.
He's running at us again. Wait. I think this game could go either way. I mean, if Big Ben cannot throw 3 interceptions this time, I think it's very possible that they could go 7-0. But it's also quite possible that the Ravens could hand them their first loss. So, yes. Dolphins and Rams. I've gone Rams. Yeah.
I need to reassess in my brain because for years and years I've looked at teams, especially this next matchup, the Bills at the Patriots. Normally, if you told me the Dolphins are playing anything or the Bills are playing anyone, I'd say they're going to lose.
It's pretty safe, yeah.
But I'm going to write something down for this one. I'm not going to say it.
Well, I've picked the Bills over the Patriots.
Okay, that's your decision. I've made a decision. I'm not going to say it.
Why?
Move on it because I'm not going to say it, Jared.
Are you not proud of your decision?
I'm not proud of it. No.
Is it because you've gone against the Patriots?
No.
He's not going to. Okay, fine. We'll find out next week then.
Browns.
Yeah, Browns and Raiders. I've gone Browns.
This could be a good game because the Raiders somehow have the ability to beat the Chiefs.
Yeah, I think that was just an off night for the Chiefs, but the Browns are without Odell, and this will be the first big test because the Raiders are an average team.
They're 3-3.
Yeah, so they're an average team, right? So
the next one is the Broncos.
Is there any doubt in that?
They went then the Bears and the Saints. I'm gonna go with the Bears. Okay. Just because I have Brees. You're aware of that.
Yes, I know. I'm gonna go Saints because the Bears got demolished last week, and I think Nick Foles. I think the magic is running out.
Yeah.
For Nick Foles. And
Drew
Brees is just too good. 49ers and Seahawks. This will be the best game of the weekend.
I've gone for the Seahawks.
You go Seahawks. I'll go 49ers then. Because again, like this, between this game and the Steelers and Ravens, I think, okay, actually, I take my last statement back. I think the Steelers and Ravens game will probably be the game of the weekend. This will be a close second, though.
Yeah.
49ers and Seahawks.
The next one is the Eagles and the Cowboys, which is effectively like, who's not got chicken pox on your street that can play the snow game kind of thing. Like, who's available?
Yeah.
I'm going to go with the Cowboys just because.
It's fine. Been notifications going off all afternoon. It's fine.
Mostly because I want Carson Wentz's next contract negotiation to be really difficult.
I think it's going to be really. I think it's going to be really difficult, anyways. I'll pick the Eagles just to go opposite you.
Okay.
The Bucks.
I love the way you didn't even say which team they're playing, just the Bucks.
Yeah. Which other team do we not even give the time of day to because they're so awful?
Giants.
Yeah. And then this game next Thursday, because we have to have that Thursday in, right? This one is another one of the. I mean, this is the first good Thursday night football game I think we've had in years, maybe. The 49ers and the Packers. Now, the question is, based on the game that they've played on Sunday, I think, at least for the Packers' sake, will we have pissed off Aaron Rodgers or will we have happy Aaron Rodgers? And
are you saying this is going to be a momentum thing? Who's got the most momentum going into the game?
Yes and no, because if the 49ers and Seahawks have as deep and gruesome as a battle that I think it will be, how beat up will the 49ers be by Thursday?
True. That's a valid point. That's a very valid point.
So,
yeah. Sorry.
Shut it. Well, we've got to make a decision. I think I'm going to go
Packers.
I was going to go Packers.
Because I think that if you go for a pure shootout, I don't think Jimmy G is Aaron Rodgers' level of sling it.
No, he's not.
I think it'll come down. I think it'll be a close game, but I think
I could see it being a shootout.
Yeah, I think it's going to become a kind of one. And
so you're going Packers then?
I'm going Packers, yeah. Just because I think that it will be so close that it'll come down to a fourth quarter who can put their team in a position to score. And I think if you've got 2 minutes on the clock and you want anyone, it's going to be Aaron Rodgers because I think he can just march your team down the field.
I will go opposite with you and go the 49ers. I'm not happy about it. So let that be on the record that I've made this choice. I'm not happy about it. So next week, if they lose and I go, why'd I do that? Well, we know.
Yeah. So are we...
Well, yeah, we've got a couple of quick topics that I want to cover. So because we're on the lengthy side already. So 2 quick COVID topics and then Gavin's logo quiz for me that we'll do rather quickly at the end. The World Series was won by the LA Dodgers a few days ago. So that's 2 championships in 16 days for the city of Los Angeles because of the Lakers winning the NBA title and then the Dodgers winning the World Series. Now, the problem with this, there's already been a full investigation launched into Mr. Josh Turner because this lad was pulled out of the 6th or 7th inning of the final game of the World Series because he tested positive for COVID. His test on the day before the game came back inconclusive, and then the test of the day of the game came back positive, so he was immediately pulled from the game, despite the fact that he'd already been interacting with everybody in the dugout and on the field. So I don't know how much that matters at that point anyways.
Mm.
He was pulled off, put into isolation, but then the Dodgers won. And who should trot back out onto the field than Mr. Josh Turner? Holding the trophy, kissing his wife, and being a part of the team photo. To wrap that up, the MLB is launching an investigation into it. And what gets me is that the manager after the game basically said, "What was I to do?" Because he was such an important part of the team and a real big reason why we won, and this and that and the other thing.
I'm gonna provide you the reason that this is messed up and the reason that he's a complete and utter dingleberry. Right? Yes. Now, is it difficult if you're asymptomatic and you get an inconclusive test? Yes. I can understand that. You get an inconclusive test, can't do much about it. If you've had an inconclusive test, would you then go and still play the game? Now, there are healthcare professionals out there that when they get an inconclusive test are still going to work. So I can agree that he would, him still playing I get because it's an inconclusive test. There is something along the lines of 20 to 30% false positive in the testing kits. So cool, fine, makes sense. As soon as he's tested positive, why is he still at the stadium? Put him in the back of a car with his wife, who's probably...
Well, yeah, his wife now has COVID because they were making out on the field.
Yeah. The rest of the players, I can kind of go, well, okay, as long as they were wearing masks in the dugout, it's kind of as long as all the procedure was followed up to that point, fine. I would give them another test just to be safe.
Well, they're all high-fiving and slapping each other's asses in, acknowledgement for good plays and stuff like that anyways.
So if he's just won the World Series, I guarantee that he's either going to go and see his dad or his grandfather. Because one of those two men, I'm not being rude here or sexist, I apologise if this isn't the case in your situation, will have got him into the sport.
Or being a big contributor or whatever.
Or being a big contributor or something like that. If he then goes and sees his dad or his granddad or something like that, and then they go and see one of their friends who's in that risk group and that person dies, that's the reason. Me and you, Jared, could both get COVID. Touch wood, we don't. But me and you could both get it tomorrow, and the probability is that we'd be all right. But you have a grandmother who is now quite happily out of hospital. We're glad to hear that. I have grandparents that I go and, I'd like to see every now and again, or, older people that I know, especially in my line of work. Those are the people that you're putting at risk. Those are the people, yes, you've just won the World Series, and I can understand that's something you look forward to your entire life, and you want to celebrate with your teammates. And that's crap that you can't do that. And I understand that, and I would send you all the champagne and food and everything like that. And then when you get out of COVID, the isolation, I would throw you a big party with the rest of your teammates as an apology. And you've still got I assume they get a ring when they win the World Series?
Yeah, they get a ring just like every other sport, and they get the trophy because the trophy gets remade every year, blah, blah, blah.
Blah, blah, blah. So there's still all those celebrations to go. Does it suck that you missed the ending of the game? Yes. But you could have FaceTimed in and they could have put you on the damn Jumbotron. There were ways around this. He shouldn't have even been at the stadium. As soon as he had a positive test, in the back of a car, drive into the nicest hotel room you can find, comp the room service for the next 2 weeks and go, sorry, bud, or just drive him home. Just go, right, you have to go to your home. He's a professional baseball player. His home's probably the same size as most people's apartment blocks. I'm sure. But
yeah,
if it was down to me, he would receive a pretty healthy fine, as would have the team.
Well, I believe he's up for. I mean, there is an investigation. I believe he's up for a potential ban. Like they could be as serious as basically not allowing him to play next season at all. all the way down to a fine, like you said. I will wrap this up with something I've said already about it. Basically, is this difficult emotionally? Yes. Is this difficult morally? No.
You could
Simple as that.
be dead.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm the security guard that's in charge of him, going, hey, right, well, we can put you in this room and you can watch the end of the game. If he goes, I've just won the World Series, let me go and party with my teammates. I'm going, no, because if you go out there, you're going to kill someone. And if he goes, no, I don't want to do that, I'm a professional athlete, I taser him and I finish watching the rest of the game while he drinks. And then when he turns around and goes, I wasn't allowed to go and party with the rest of the team, you go, yeah, because he got COVID. Yeah.
Anyway. His wife was also carrying their baby on the field. Anyways, another thing that's a bit unfortunate has to do with COVID as well. Not quite as controversial as this. The Hockey Hall of Fame today announced that they will be pushing back the induction ceremony for the 2020 inductees so that people can be there and they can have the whole hoopla, which makes sense. Yeah. All for that. What I'm not for was the next half of the statement, which was they will not be having a class of 2021 inductees. And let me say my opinion first. I do not understand why we're just skipping a year of inducting people into the Hall of Fame, because now you're effectively backlogging something that's already backlogged-ish. What is good is that, yes, players have to wait 5 years until they're eligible to go into the hall. So that kind of allows another year for people that wouldn't have been eligible in 2021 to then be eligible. But
you still missed out.
You've now got the people that were eligible in 2021 now having to wait an extra year to potentially get inducted. And there's a bit of a backlog there. And then just a problem that I have with the Hockey Hall of Fame in general, how they have executives and builders that are still working who are in the Hall of Fame right now. I don't get that. The current commissioner, Gary Bettman, is in the Hockey Hall of Fame he's not done yet, but he's in the hall already. And current Pittsburgh Penguins manager, Jim Rutherford, who people are very unhappy with his recent trades with the Pittsburgh Penguins, is also in the Hall of Fame. I don't understand those in general, but this specific move, pushing the ceremony to 2021, great, love it. Want to, celebrate the 2020 inductees, not having a 2021 season. Don't get it.
Right. So, my game. Worked hard on this. So, Jared, I've sent you in a Word document.
Yes, I have to go to Facebook. Hold on.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 logos. Now, some of them have got names. Some of them have not.
Okay.
Now, these are...
I have to open this up.
Yes, you have to open this up. So, now, I'm not going to say in any particular order or anything like that.
I know what the first one is.
Okay.
So we're starting off good. Well.
Yeah. I want the name of the team.
Yep.
And what sport the logo relates to.
What sport they play. Okay. So I'll write it down so that we get it all. So the first logo is Arsenal.
Mm-hmm.
And that is soccer or football.
Okay.
I'm pretty confident in that one.
Okay, so that is the first one. Do you want me to tell you how many you've got right now? Or
no, we'll do it at the end. We can do it at the end. Okay, there's a new logo on every page, I guess, right?
Yes.
The next logo is the Harlequins.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea where they're from. I think you've mentioned them before, which is probably why you've put them in here.
Very podcast.
Yeah?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's been on this podcast. We've discussed them on this podcast.
Yeah. Which I think if I remember correctly, they're a female rugby team. I haven't. What was your facial expression to that? Female rugby team.
I'm not. I'm not. I'm not.
Because I had to put the zoom behind the document, so I'm gonna
giving you anything.
stop doing that. I'm gonna say okay. I'm gonna say rugby.
Okay.
But I have no idea where they're from. So, do you want me to just take a guess?
You can guess.
They're near you, obviously. No, I got nothing.
You got nothing?
I'm gonna put Ipswich, but I know it's wrong. I know that's wrong.
Okay.
Okay, well, this next one is Chelsea.
The football ones I expected you to get.
Yeah, this is Chelsea, and that's football. Even though, for whatever reason, they have what looks like a volleyball on their logo.
Yeah.
Why?
The next one.
Oh, well, I know where they're from because it's Watford.
Yeah.
It looks like a moose.
Mm-hmm.
Are they the Watford Mooses?
No.
The Watford Meese?
By the way, just saying Watford does not count as a team name or something like that. They do have there is a team name.
Well, that's a bit.
It is just Watford is just the location.
I don't know the team name if that's the case. I want to say lacrosse though. To be honest, I feel like you would throw me one of those. I don't think you would just restrict this to football. And I would be disappointed in you if you did. So we'll do that. The Wasps. I've never seen this before. It's not bad. That's not what a wasp looks like, unfortunately.
It's not what a wasp looks like at all.
Yeah, it looks very friendly, actually, except for its pointy ass. Wasps. I'm gonna say rugby again.
Mm-hmm.
And location. See, I'm trying to think of like places in the UK that like would support teams, which is like basically all of them, to be honest. Wasps. Oh, you know, I'm gonna go right off the map and say Milton Keynes.
Okay.
Because I remember the Milton Keynes hockey team being yellow and black or gold and black, and so I feel like that might be a city-wide theme where they have the same colors. Now, this to me looks like an alternate logo for the Buffalo Sabres, this final one, because it's 3 swords. But I've got no idea what this would be. Or what, man, you've really like dug deep with this. You definitely.
This isn't that deep. You've walked past this logo in your life.
At Hertfordshire?
I'm not giving you any hints.
Oh, God. Well, everything in Hertfordshire was purple, so it can't be that because this is blue.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing in Hatfield. There is stuff in St. Albans, though. and London, but like, why would this be in London? I don't know. I'm gonna say the St. Albans Sabres. Why not?
Okay. And what sport do they play?
God's sake.
I'm better at coming up with logos than you are. Because this was done. I didn't have much time with this. 5 minutes to be honest. I think we'll spend some time on it, and I think I might be able to completely blow you out of the water.
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, these logos aren't like international, though. I would say that most like North American professional logos are pretty international. Like between baseball, hockey, and the NFL.
Depends where you
and
are
the
in
NBA.
the world, doesn't it?
What's that?
Depends where you are in the world, though.
I guess. I mean, the NBA is pretty international. Hockey's less so, but gaining.
Yeah.
I mean, you see LA Kings logos in Japan.
Yeah. Come on.
But I got to pick a sport. Cricket. I know it's wrong. See, he's giggling at that. I know it's wrong.
I'll go through. Starting with the first one.
Yeah.
You went 2 for 2 there. That is, in fact, Arsenal Football Club. So that's 2.
Hooray.
The next one is the Twickenham Harlequins.
Twickenham.
They're based in London.
Where is Twickenham?
London. If you've ever watched an English rugby game of any note, it's played at Twickenham. The words hallowed ground are quite often uttered.
So it was rugby, so I got that right?
Yes.
Haha.
The next one is Chelsea Football Club.
Yeah.
Got that. Well done. The next one. So I feel bad about this because I told you that the name wasn't the name. They are, in fact, Watford Football Club is the official. And they play football, and I actually just spent the past 5 minutes researching why they have a moose as their logo, and no one can tell me why, so I'm going to have a conversation with Bell's dad about that.
Oh, good.
So you actually got 1 point on that.
Oh, you've given me a point because of the moose.
I'll give you a point. Well, you said they were a football team. No,
I said they were a lacrosse team.
You're a lacrosse team. My apologies. So you get nothing on that.
Aw, I don't get a point for the moose.
No. The next one. The next one is Coventry Wasps.
Coventry. Ugh.
Coventry. And they are a rugby team.
Haha.
Yes. The next one, I do not know how you pulled that out of the bag. Something in your memory, because we walked past here and I pointed it out to you, and you could not have cared less.
Yeah, I don't remember this at all.
This is the logo for Essex Cricket Club.
Oh, Essex.
Yes. Where I'm from.
I said cricket, though.
You said cricket. I thought he's never going to get this. He's never going to get this at all. And then you just went, cricket. And I thought, fuckers. So I think definitely do the logo game again, because I've just found some more difficult ones and I immediately want to ruin you.
Well, it's your turn next week, so I have to come up. I have to come up with some logos for next week.
I think. Have we got an Instagram page yet?
No.
Okay.
I manage 2 other Instagrams.
Okay. I think in the interim between now and then, we should create an Instagram page, and we should post the logos to our Instagram page. And before me and you have to do a solemn oath that neither of us will Google, research, or look those logos up. Pinky swear now.
I guess that would be that would be convenient.
Yeah.
I'll let you manage it though.
Okay. Well,
So
if
you can.
I've never made another Instagram page before in my life.
Yeah, it's the same. It's the same way you made the first one.
Okay, fine.
And then you can give me access to it. What I will pledge is that I'm going to figure out how to get this podcast on something other than YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
So like Apple Podcasts or something like that.
Yeah, buy something along those lines.
If we can. And I'll make some sort of graphic.
Yes, we are both committing to getting better at podcasting.
We're both committing to doing something. So we wish better luck next week to us for making that happen, and all the losers this weekend.
Yeah. I'm getting pufferfish tomorrow.
Oh, lovely.